Congressman Larson and his Democratic Party have been on a roll for the last several years, winning congressional races, Senate races, the last 4 governor races, and all the constitutional offices. But 10 years ago, in 2014, an up-and-coming Republican came very close to knocking off legendary state treasurer Denise Napier. He then ran for governor and lost. So where has Tim Herbst been? And joining us now is Tim Herbst. And Tim, good to see you back here in the program.
Dennis, great to be back.
So we last saw you on the political scene in 2018 when you ran for governor. Yes. And of course in 2014, you came very close to winning the treasurer's race. We didn't know till the next day. So what have you been doing since then?
What have I been doing? Well, we got married in October. We're living now in Brantford.
Excellent.
And what I've been doing professionally, about 3 days before they shut the country down from COVID, along with 5 other partners, I launched a law firm that is representing 10 municipalities in the state of Connecticut and growing, and we're doing quite well. And on top of that, I've been also developing real estate. And my wife is getting the real estate bug as well, so we're looking forward to doing projects together.
Yeah, back in 2018, you were considered a rising star in the Republican Party. You're one of the young up-and-comers. Do you have any ideas as to whether you're going to go back into politics?
You know, I get asked that question a lot, and I think one day I will. But I think it's going to be after I build a family, start a family with my wife, and also make sure that I have the financial wherewithal to run for statewide office again, because I learned the hard way in 2018 that it does take a lot of money to be elected to statewide office.
In your judgment, what is the status right now of the Connecticut Republican Party?
I think the Connecticut Republican Party is trying to reconcile how we can focus on state-based issues without the national blowback. And right now, I think what we have to do as Republicans in the state of Connecticut is we can't simply say what we're against. We have to tell people what we're for. So when people say to me, you know, Tim, we're concerned about how the national political scene is going to affect Republicans running in Connecticut. I think Republicans in Connecticut need to run on local issues. Tip O'Neill said, all politics are local. He was right. I think that we need to talk about local control of our schools, local control of zoning. I think we have to articulate and acknowledge that the state's current budget situation, albeit good, a lot of that COVID money is set to expire. We still have outward migration out of the state to more tax-friendly, pro-business states. So I don't think the economic and budget stability we have seen in the last couple of years is going to be sustainable. That's just my opinion. So I think that Republicans in Connecticut win when we talk about kitchen table issues, when we talk about taxes, the economy, creating jobs, and we talk about local control of schools, local control of zoning, infrastructure improvements. I have to tell you, I had a drive the other day from Brantford to Greenwich and back. It's brutal. So we got to focus on our roads, bridges, and highways as well.
There's a belief out there that only a moderate Republican can get elected in our state, and conservative Republicans have had a tough time. And if you look at the last Senate race in 2022, you had Themis Claridis, who was a moderate. She lost in the primary to Leora Levy, who was endorsed by Donald Trump. So popular among some Republicans, but then she was trounced in the general election. So how do people navigate the Donald Trump factor?
I think you navigate it by acknowledging that when you run as a Republican in Connecticut, you have to speak to Connecticut voters and the concerns that Connecticut voters have. Now, I will say this. You know, we all know that Donald Trump is going to be the Republican presidential nominee. And I think it says a lot that he is running either neck and neck in national polls, or in most battleground states, he's running ahead of a man who beat him 4 years earlier. So I think that goes to how upset people are with the condition of the economy, inflation, the border. So we have to ignore the noise, and we have to talk about the issues.
Most of the Republicans that I've spoken to in this state tend to be pro-choice. They want the women to be able to make their own decisions on that, yet the National Party disagrees with that. Do you think Connecticut Republicans are out of step with the National Party?
I do not support a federal ban, and I'm a 10th Amendment guy, and I know that Connecticut is always going to be a pro-choice state. No matter who the governor is, no matter who's in the legislature, Connecticut will always be a pro-choice state. So I support the state remaining pro-choice. I do not support a federal ban. And frankly, you know, if we're going to be Connecticut focused, we have to focus on our residents and enact laws that are consistent with what our constituents want and believe in.
You were almost elected treasurer in 2014. They were counting the ballots through the night, and the next day, finally, you had lost the race. But we haven't had something that close in a while.
That, you know, somebody reminded me of that the other day, that in the last, I think, 12 years, that was the closest statewide election between a Republican and a Democrat. It was less than 1% that separated us. I remember being up until 6 o'clock in the morning, and I remember turning on the television, seeing that some of the networks had put a check mark next to my name, and then I thought I won, and then they pulled that back, obviously, when the ballots were getting counted. But, you know, it was a tough assignment, taking on a 16-year incumbent who in the previous election received the most votes of any Democrat running for statewide office in 2010.
All right, a couple of quick yes or no questions. If they asked you to run for office this year, yes or no?
No.
If they asked you to run in 26, yes or no?
Maybe.
Maybe. All right. Tim Herbst, always good to see you in the program.
Thank you, Dennis.
We'll have you on again.
And when we come back, why Eversource says it has to raise your electric rates.